वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। शांति शांति शांति।
First 4 stanzas we will chant together.
अन्यस्य दोषगणना कुतुकम्ममैतत् आविष्करोति नियतं मयि दोषवत्वम् दोषः पुनर्न चेदखिलेशदीशे दोषग्रहः कथमुदेतु महेश तस्मिन् येषा गतेतरकृतेति ममेश तस्मिन् कोपो यदि स्वपरकाममुखप्रसूता सेयव्यथेति महिमेन कथन्तु कोपः स्वस्य व्यथा स्वदुरित प्रभवा हि सर्वा कामभृत्यखिलदोषनिधे ममैष मय्यानदोषमिति को दुराग्रहोऽस्मिन् हेयत्वमालपतियो यमलन्नकेन वायोपसर्पवती सोऽयमसत्किमाः यः संश्रितस्वहिततीर्भसनातुरस्तत् दोषस्य तत्प्रतिवचोऽस्तु तदन्यदोषम् यद्वक्ष्मितत्मम किन्नक्षतये स्वदोष चिन्तैव मे तदपनोद फलोचिताः।
So we saw yesterday the 3 conditions under which one could correct someone else about their personality and problems. But the advice is not to do that even in those circumstances, because nobody really likes to hear difficult things about themselves. Kind of a guru-shishya relationship or a parent-child relationship, then it's okay. But the rest of the other types, you just let it go. Better to let it go. And then, next one.
दोषं परस्य ननु गृह्णाति मय्यनेन स्वात्मैष एव परगात्र समाहृतेन दुर्वस्तुरेव मलिनीक्रियते तदन्य दोषग्रहादः किं न निवर्तितव्यम् दोषग्रहादः किं न निवर्तितव्यम् together दोषं परस्य ननु गृह्णाति मय्यनेन स्वात्मैष एव परगात्र समाहृतेन दुर्वस्तुनेव मलिनीक्रियते तदन्य दोषग्रहादः किं न निवर्तितव्यम्.
Nanu, indeed, parasya dosham mayi grinhati. So in me is grasped all the other people's flaws. This is a very interesting argument here. So in me, constantly is registering. Grinhati here is registering, is grasping what, the mind is grasping what everybody else's problem. So the person goes around saying, this one is not mature enough. Because this is Vedantin talking now, Vedantin wannabe. This one will never get the knowledge. This one, doesn't know the difference between Satyam and Mithya. And this one is just whatever, too much into Maya. And will never get will never get Brahman. And that one is just, not doesn't have enough, hasn't done enough karma yoga. And the other one hasn't done enough shravanam. So like this, the person is happily registering, gridhati here, grasping or in the mind, in that person. And here, of course, he's talking in the first person for all the reasons we mentioned on the first day. Very effective way, of communicating this teaching. So, all the other people's doshas, why they are not a perfect Vedantin. So, if you're not a Vedantin, what are you? Vedanta out. Yeah, because you're not in Vedanta. So, all this is registering in that person. Here, you are described in the first person. Anyasya dosham. What is that? Parasya dosham. Nano here means indeed. Nano also has another meaning in the sense of a Purva Paksha. In the Shankara Bhashya, Shankara's commentary, sometimes the objections, are prefaced with the term Nano. So both will apply, we'll see how it is. But first we'll just take the regular meaning. Indeed, Nano. Indeed, Parasya Dosham Nano Gridhati. Nano Parasya Dosham Mai Gridhati. So that is one clause. A very simple, straightforward clause. Other people's faults are registered in me, by me. That third case, Mai is used more in the sense of Maya, So, Mai. Then, Anena, by this, what happens? There's a surprise. What happens? Anena, Svatma Esha, Svatma Eva, Esha will take later, Svatma Eva Malini Kriyate. Malini Kriyate becomes dirty, is made dirty. Malini Kriyate. What is that? The usage here, the pratyaya, the suffix is something called chvi. This chvi is something that is not that, it makes something which is not that thing into that thing. So it's a chvi pratyaya. Even in Bhagavad Gita there is, somewhere it comes. I'm not recalling now. Malini Karanam, So it is made to be dirty. Here Swatma doesn't mean, one's own Atma. Swatma here means Antahkarana. You have to look at the context. You can't just have one meaning for everything. Likewise in the Upanishad, sometimes the word Jnanam means Upasana. So we have to see the context. So here Swatma means Swasya Antahkaranam. So what happens to the Antahkarana? The Antahkarana Malini Kriyate is made dirty. So what's the point of studying, Vedanta? What do you need in order to study Vedanta? Shuddha Antahkarana. The Antahkarana should be opposite of dirty, soiled. This is a very nice argument. This is what is called, what is called Sahavasa Dosha. The flaw of, constant association with something that is, that is not very healthy. Like, there is a saying, one bad apple, what does it do? Spoil the bunch. The whole thing gets spoiled, And then, so here, what is the mind doing? The mind is constantly focusing on the shortcomings of others. And then, instead of dwelling in Rama, which is, what is Rama? Ramante Yasmin Yoginaha, in that Atma, in the delight of the Atma, in which all the yogis revel. So instead of dwelling in Bhagavan or in the truth of oneself, what is one dwelling on? Other people's shortcomings. This one is not up to snuff. That one is a gossip. This one is, not fully there. And that one keeps on doing this. And that one is annoying. And this one is, frustrating. And this one is disappointing. So constantly, one is totally there. And then, so what are you dwelling on? All the problems of all the people in the universe. And then there is a saying in Sanskrit, Yad bhavitam tad bhavati. Meaning, whatever you keep on thinking about, you become that. In other words, Brahmavid Brahmaiva bhavati. If you are, only focusing on knowing Brahman and assimilating this knowledge, then that's what you become. That's what you already are. That's what comes out. But conversely, if you keep on, and because thoughts have power, and then, when we were all small, the elders would tell us that, there are certain things, there are certain entities, invisible entities called Astu Devatas. Astu Devatas means, so be it, the celestials. Excuse me. So be it, celestials. And what do? They are just one word devatas. They keep saying astu, tathastu, tathastu, tathastu. They keep saying that. So be it, so be it, so be it. And so when you put yourself down constantly, then it doesn't take a long time before you feel terrible. The day started off quite nicely, but then one thought came, am I up to this? And then suddenly, tailgating on that thought, so many other thoughts came. And then the whole day was, derailed. So then this is what the whole thing is. That if you are dwelling on other people's shortcomings, then it is like a lead balloon. You cannot have creative, soaring, uplifting thoughts that help you to come out of samsara. What is that? Proactive thoughts that help you to come out of samsara. And there are many such mechanisms in our Shanti mantras. Maham Brahma Nirakuryam. This is an antidote to all this kind of nonsense. Ma Brahma Nirakarot. Anirakaranamastu Anirakaranam me astu. May I never leave Brahman. May I never reject Brahman. How can you reject Brahman? Whatever you reject is what? Brahman. What is in front is Brahman, what is behind in Brahman, what you accept is Brahman, what you reject is Brahman. So how can you reject Brahman? So we have to understand this. May I never go away from Brahman. Of course, you can't really go away from Brahman either. But it is here as though, may I not feel alienated from Brahman. Mama Brahma Nirakarot. It's my own projection. So Bhagavan has left me behind. Of course, Bhagavan has left you behind. Why? Because one is preoccupied with the faults of another. And even though Bhagavan is right there, the feeling is there is no Bhagavan around. How will Bhagavan ever be around? There is no place for Bhagavan to be around because the heart is filled with lot of preoccupations. And if the preoccupations is other people's flaws, so that means you are concentrating on the dark side of the other person. On the, what should I say, the dirty, qualities, bad qualities of the other person. And so the mind is now immersed in bad qualities, bitter qualities, bad qualities of the other person are constantly washing over the mind. And what does then the mind is very, gullible. It takes on, every thought. How does it bring the thought to light? It takes on the akara of that particular thought to bring it to light. Suppose I say, look at this pot. Suppose I had a pot in my hand. So even when I don't have a pot, but still the pot is in your head. As soon as I said pot, something happened in the head, correct? So, ghatakara vritti, potakara vritti took place. Hmm? So the pot, the pot shape, pot form, and pot thought took place. And that pot thought then try to match with the pot that one may be holding in the hand. So suppose you thought of a small pot and I am holding a big pot, there is an adjustment that takes place. So first is tadakara vritti. So it has to have that particular akara. So the mind, is very malleable because this is how all cognition takes place. It acts like, and it totally becomes that particular thing in order to recognize that particular thing. So if you keep on cognizing everybody's flaws, problems, and doshas, then the mind takes on those flaws. Mind has to keep on taking the akara of those flaws. So if you say this person is bad tempered, so the mind is already in touch with not its own anger, but the anger of the other person. So this one is an idiot. So the idiocy of the other person you are in touch with. You are dwelling over and you are borrowing that as a mantle to hold. And then you say this one is not a Vedantin and still coming to Vedanta classes. It's one thing if they are not a Vedantin and sitting at home, then it's okay. But they are coming to all the retreats, they are coming to all the classes, and that becomes a problem. And so that also, if you dwell on, that means that not a Vedantin vritti, fills up the mind. Because the mind is incapable of cognizing something without actually, completely pervading that thing. This is the nature of the mind. You see anywhere, anything. Tadakara vritti. This is how Brahman is also assimilated as the truth of oneself, because in the class, when you have an aha moment, a particular vritti is created in the process of this transmission of the knowledge. Brahmakara vritti. But Brahman has no akara. That's why it's called akhandakara vritti. Brahman is akhanda. Akhanda here means oneness. So that thought in the oneness is communicated in the active teaching context by the teacher in the mind of the student. The seed of that oneness is planted. But since that oneness cannot be recognized without recognizing oneself, and since that self is self evident, that oneness is immediately experienced and cognized as oneself. Akhandakara vritti. This is very nice. So even Brahman is communicated and understood in that same way. No other way there is to do that. So the mind has to totally become that thing, before it can comprehend. This is how it is. And in the Atma Bodha and Atma Bodha, I think, and some other, even in Viveka Chudamani, it is referenced. There is what is it? Brahmara Kitavat. There is one expression, and this is a kind of our own adhyasa, because we see in the ancient people saw that there would be a wasp. Brahmara here is not bee, it is wasp. And what does the wasp do? The wasps takes one earthworm or some insect crawling on the tree into its little hive, or inside the tree it has made a little hive, so it takes it in the little hollow of the tree, and then the wasp keeps on stinging it. The wasp keeps on stinging it, because the wasp is afraid of this this earthworm or some worm, kirita, and it keeps on stinging it. And then, of course, that one dies after so many stings and venom. That thing dies. We don't even know what happens to that thing. And then after a while, you see a wasp fly out of the nest. And then the Kim Vadanti, the belief is that the wasp, by keeping on stinging the poor earthworm, made it into itself. It made it into another wasp. So it says, Brahmara Keetavat. This is how the comprehension of knowledge also takes place. Because the mind is dipped like a gulab jamun into the juice of the Upanishads and made to stay there. That is what in the sweet essence, it is made to stay there until it stops bobbing up and down and absorbs the essence of the Upanishads. That's why it is said, Raso bhai saha rasaguhyevayam labdva nandi bhavati. Raso bhai saha. Juicy indeed it is. Yeah. And that juice is the essence of this oneness that is transmitted and it's recognized because that oneness is you and that you is self-evident. So it is both understood, without there being an object of knowledge. This is important. There is no object of knowledge here. All that is there is the subject that can never be objectified. But since the subject is not, pramana, janita, it is not born of pramana. It is, what is it? It is not born of a means of knowledge. It is, what is it? It is svatah siddha. It is self-evident. Since the I is self-evident, this oneness is recognized Brahmakara vritti, or to be more precise, Akhandakara vritti. So that is how the mind recognizes something by immersing itself in that very thing. This is the nature of the mind. This is how cognition takes place. There's only one difference between the cognition of the subject and the cognition of the object. In the cognition of the object, there is a two-part comprehension. What is the first part? Part. So when you say part, what happens? Part vritti, part akara has taken place. This is called, vritti vyapti, the pervasion of the mind into this thing called pot, correct? So the pot pervades the whole pot thought pervades the mind. So, and then, and in the process, if I show a pot and the mind, what does it do? Sense, the eyes, etc. The sense organs is behind, the mind is behind the sense organs that as though go and envelop the pot and bring back the information. This is called vritti vyapti. So then the second part of the comprehension is called phala vyapti, because the first pot thought that came may be of one's ishta pot, a golden pot. But what was shown was a clay pot. So some adjustment has to be taken because otherwise it would be wrong knowledge, correct? So then what happens? Phala vyapti is whatever corrections in terms of material, size, shape, etc. This is what is called phala vyapti. This is in the cognition of all objects, but in the cognition of the subject, what happens? There is only vritti vyapti, that is enough. The vritti pervades the mind, but then it doesn't have to check up which Brahman, how big is this Brahman, whether it is me or someone else. No, because it is you and it is one, it is all pervasive. So there is no phala vyapti. So the mind goes like this only. And this is very beautifully described in Dakshinamurti Stotra. Nana chidra ghatodara sthita mahadipa prabhabhaswaram Jnanam yasya tu chakshuradikarana bahispandate Janamiti tameva bhantam anubhati etat samastam jagat Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. So, Nana Chidra Ghata Udara Sthita Mahadipa Prabha Bhaswaram. It's like a pot with many holes. Nana Chidra Ghatam, So Ghataha. So this Ghata is covering a Mahadeepa. So a big light, one light, oil lamp, the oil lamp is covered. In the olden days, they didn't have disco, and so they would entertain themselves with these kinds of things, and they would cover it, sit in a dark room, and then, how many lights? One light. How many lights? There's only one light. And then, they would have, when let's say there were 5 holes, and then you cover this pot over that pot, and then over the light, and then you see 5 big streams of light dancing on the walls, correct? And then why 5? 5 sense organs, that's why. So then, jnanam, this knowledge, what is this knowledge? This chit, this, Satchid Atma, this consciousness, what does it do? It's as though goes via the mind through the sense organs to capture whatever there is in its path, in the path of this light called the eyes, in the path of the light called the ears, the nose, the taste buds, etc. And then the recognition, first the cognition, and then the recognition happens. Janami iti. I know, I know, I know. This is such a marvelous way of knowing things. And this wonderful mechanism of knowing, you are going to waste on other people's flaws? Are you mad? That's the whole point, Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam. This is what we see in the Kathopanishad, same mantra, in the Mundakopanishad, same mantra. That this is the light of all lights. Jyotisham Jyotihi. This light of Atma, in other words, the light of cognition, the light of awareness, consciousness. I know that never becomes I don't know, because it's even the cognizer of I don't know. How is it the cognizer of I don't know? I know that I don't know. Simple. Very ontological also. So this cognition that is always in the form of I know, and then it is the whole. What is that? It is that same consciousness that cognizes everything in the universe. But before it cognizes everything in the universe, it is cognizing itself. It alone is, and everything is because of which. This is how the cognition takes place. This is how cognition of Akhandakara takes place, that oneness takes place, that Brahman is understood, assimilated as the truth of every experience, as the content of the subject of experience, the experiencer, the object of experience, and the means of experience. It transcends everything. It's neither the experiencer nor the experience nor the means of experience. Neither subject nor the object nor the means of experience. Yet it is so vast and so limitless that it upkeeps all of them. And this mechanism of knowing is so special, is so wonderful, that cognition, it should only be turned towards knowing the truth of oneself. Everything else is a waste of time. That's why the Kathopanishad doesn't mince words when it says Anya Vacha Pramunchata, meaning stop talking. Simple translation. Stop talking. Yeah. Anya Vacha. Anya means any other talk than Brahman. Stop talking. Chup. That's all. Chup raho. Keep quiet. Because what else is there to talk about? Some people, then they come back to me in the question time. That's why I'm preventing that question by discussing this right now. I'm not looking forward to that question, so I'll answer it right now before it comes. Some people say, if everything is Brahman, I know, when they say that, I know that, okay, there is trouble ahead.
Except.
So, if everything is Brahman then why shouldn't I think of all these useless things? Because useless things are also what? Brahman. Yeah. So my question is, do you know that? Well, sometimes, you know. So then if you don't know that, then that means we have to, start from ABC. Atma, Anatma, Viveka. Atma is like nothing else. Anatma is everything else that can be objectified. So, if you spend your time and your focus on the things that you constantly objectify, then in the process the subject is missed. Vedanta 101. Then Vedanta 201, Anatma is nothing but Atma alone. Vedanta 301, however, Atma is not Anatma. Okay? So Atma is Atma, Anatma is also Atma, but in the beginning, that separation has that as though separation should be there in order to bring it together. And so we are talking here. This is like a sadhana ashtakam. This is like instead of sadhana panchakam. This is sadhana ashtakam, which is octet of sadhanas, but a single pointed sadhana whose message is keep quiet. That is the message. Chup ho jao, what are you talking about? And that's why the Kathopanishad, Vita very blatantly says, Anya vacha pramunchata. Esha amritatvasya setuhu. Setu means bridge. Esha means this Atma talk. So, the Atma Vedanta talk is amritatvasya setuhu. This is the bridge to oneness. This is the bridge to immortality. This is the bridge to knowing the truth of yourself. No other talk is going to help. That's why this knowledge is given, in a context like an ashram and everything like that, where the ragadveshas are forced to shed by studying the Upanishad. Yeah, the raga, that which makes the ragadveshas go away is called Upanishad. It makes you shed the ragadveshas. And I still remember, when I was studying, two brahmacharis came to Pujya Swamiji and then said, we cannot, they were roommates, we cannot get along. And if we are allowed to coexist in the same dorm room, then we don't know what we will do to each other. It had reached that kind of a state. And they were self-aware and they were very frank and they came and said, and they were introspective. They were wanting to, change, but they didn't know how. They had, they were just beating each other up all the time. I mean, not figuratively, not literally, figuratively. They were not able to get along at all. And then Pujya Swamiji said, it's kind of in the middle of the course and it's hard to change rooms, etc., because then somebody else has to get adjusted to each of you, And so, but I can do that if you want. So they thought about it, they looked at each other, they looked at Pujya Swamiji, and they said, no, you give us one upaya, you give us whatever remedy you give us, we'll give it one more try. So Pujya Swamiji said, okay, try for 2-3 months more. And if it doesn't work, if the remedy I suggest does not work, come back to me and then we'll see what else to do. And what was the remedy? Talk only Vedanta with one another. You're not allowed to talk anything else. Not even have you had breakfast. Why did you steal my hot water? That was the fight between them, Yeah. This was the days. Nowadays, Anekatti has improved very much. All the resources have improved. When we were all studying, there was just, buckets of hot water would be kept, at 4 o'clock in the morning. And especially in the winter, imagine how quickly it will get cold. So the idea is, even without a wake-up call, for that precious hot water, bath water, you will definitely get up. So now, I don't know this, but it was a rumor that one of the brahmacharis frequently used up the other brahmachari's hot water also in addition to his own, and that was a cause for a lot of this is brahmachari cheshta. This is what people do. Yeah, you know, you go to the temple and say, some nice thing is made. Can I have some more for my roommate? Oh, sure, sure. And then by the time the roommate goes to the temple, it's all gone over. And then somebody will, of course, say at the temple, your roommate took some, didn't he give you? Oh, so all these, you know, rankling feelings will be there and they are built up. And see, samsara is vast, and then in the samsara, in the regular, so to speak, regular world, what can you do? You can forget about that one person because you can, go away from that person. You can go see somebody else. You can go do somebody else. You can move. You can, break up with that person. Lots of options are there in the ashram, and it's interesting, everybody is called an inmate. It makes me very uncomfortable to use that word, but I suppose it's a zenitentiary. Okay, yeah, so maybe, so inmate means you go in but you don't come out. That's the, until you are set, set free. That's what it is. Until the Guru sets you free, you go in. That's why you're an inmate, a voluntary inmate in this so-called Zenitentiary, where you learn the art of Vedantic Zen. And so here, Pujya Swamiji's unique remedy: talk only Vedanta with each other. No other talk, nothing else. Not even, don't discuss food, don't discuss even the most innocuous things, just Vedanta. So they said, we will try. And they became the greatest of friends after a while. They even sort of, co-authored some of, not co-authored, but they transcribed some of Pujya Swamiji's talks together, and all these things they were doing. They were studying grammar. Before, they could not stand each other. But then, Anya Vacha Pramunchatha. Give up all other. Pujya Swamiji was such a, he was a walking, talking Shastra. He was just like that. So, and as soon as he said, give up, anything else except Vedanta, talk only Vedanta to one another, that was the key. So you don't have to wait for tips till Thursday, I told you. This is a very big tip. Anya vacha prapanchata. Anya means any other talk you give up. So if you're having difficulties at home, talk only Vedanta to one another. Don't discuss the cooking, Yeah. And, don't discuss the cooking. There's nothing much to discuss in the cooking anyway, No oil, no dairy, no what to discuss. So, so don't discuss the cooking, don't discuss the children, talk only Vedanta. Really, it works. It will be, it really, really works. So this is what the thing is, and that is what he is saying it, but in a slightly different way. And so let us go back to here. What the thing is, yeah. So parasya dosham grinhati mayi. Parasya dosha grahanena. What happens? Swatma eva malini kriyate. My mind alone becomes sullied. So funny. Here I'm obsessing about somebody else's flaws, and then what happens? Ironically, it is my mind that gets affected. Naturally, because if you're only exposed to wrong things and difficult situations, then that's the only thing that will be broadcasting in the mind. So, Malini kriyate me manaha, my mind gets sullied. How? He gives an example. Paragatra samahritena. Paragatra samahritena means like by being in close proximity, as though by being embraced by lots of people, like you go into a temple, a crowded temple on a crowded day, you know, big famous Shiva temple on a Monday or a Pradosha day. You don't even have to enter. People behind you will make sure you enter. They push you in. And you don't have to come out. They will push you out. Yeah. And even though you took a bath before going to the temple, after coming out of the temple, you feel dirty because you were in close proximity with so many bodily fluids. It's his words, not mine. Okay? Yeah, we'll see. So, and then because of that, you get affected. That constant jostling and the constant, like a crowded marketplace, a crowded temple, a crowded, like modern example, local, what is that, subway. You go to the subway in the rush hour, and then you are packed. You're packed with, you're intimately, connected to every single person. And then when you come out of such a situation, you feel like going straight to the shower, correct? Yeah, even though you have been to the temple, you still feel like cleaning yourself. So he says it's like, so being in contact with, you know, other people's flaws, which are what, which bring you down and which are needlessly harsh and dirty thoughts. And what do those dirty thoughts affect? They don't affect the other person. They don't, the other person doesn't even know that you are thinking of them badly because they are all in your thoughts, correct? So here, so it's see, the previous verses were all articulating those thoughts, correct? Here we just having those thoughts. So having those thoughts is itself a big risk to take. Nursing those thoughts in the heart, in the head, what does it do? It is like being in a crowded temple with, sharing everybody's, sweat and grime because you're all, close together in a confined space. And then when you come out, even though you've gone to the temple, you should feel pure and clean. You feel the opposite and you go to your hotel room or wherever and take a shower. So, Paragatra Samahitena, so because of being in close proximity, as though with people, Durvastuna Iva. So, by bad bodily fluids, etc., one is afflicted. So, likewise, by having nursing thoughts and also not just thoughts, but also expressing, always being preoccupied with the thoughts and expression of other people's shortcomings. What am I doing to myself? I'm making my own mind dirty. My own antahkarana is sullied. And in a sullied antahkarana, Vedanta cannot take place. Cannot take place. Really. So we talk about, Shama and Dama, two things. So first we have to discuss Dama. Shama always comes last. And even in the Upanishad, Shama is discussed last. First is Dama, defined by Tattva Bodha, is Bahyendriya Nigraha Damaha. Bahyendriya means what? The organs of actions. Here, Bahyendriya. And even even the organs of action, Nigraha means managing the organs of action. Don't forget, the tongue is an important organ of action. The tongue actually is very important because it doubles as a sense organ and an organ of action. So this jihva, is an organ of action. And so that is what is discussed here. This jihva, when the tongue is used to give a lashing to others based on their wrong things. So here, that is not Dhamma. Dhamma is, cultivating restraint with regard to vak, speech. And sometimes you get so angry that you feel like cuffing the other fellow, and you have to, hold that hand with the other hand and pet it and say, okay, calm down. Calm down now. Or this hand if you're left-handed, calm down, it's okay, it's okay. You have to make that hand, all right. You feel like kicking the person, and then you should just do a little dance instead to get out the energy. Yeah, this is Dhamma. Dhamma is the first step, restraint to actually, reacting to something somebody said or reacting to certain impressions in the mind. This is what is Dhamma. But then just stopping reacting is only half the, exercise. You know why? Because that reactivity is already, like if you stop doing something that you feel like doing, you feel like hitting somebody, you feel like saying something to somebody, and then you don't because you are blessed by Dhamma, you have cultivated Dhamma, that does not help. That's only a short-term band-aid because all the feelings are still there in the mind, they are unresolved. Enter Shama. That is, inner instrument Nigraha. Antarendriya Nigraha. So the cultivation of some kind, managing, disciplining the mind and the sense organs, resolving the mind and the sense organs. So you have to process the feelings. It's very important. So when you process the feelings, then it doesn't come out, you let off steam safely, like the whistle of a pressure cooker. You let off steam safely. Otherwise if there is no mechanism for the pressure cooker to let off steam, then it will happen. This is one of my childhood memories. I went to somebody's house and they were in great distress and they took us to their kitchen and the kitchen was painted yellow, dal everywhere. And then they said, look up. I looked up, and the lid of the pressure cooker had literally hit the ceiling and was stuck there. And they were hoping that when the dal dries, it will come down, you know. And this is how, the American English is wonderful because this is what is called blowing the top. Yeah, that's what happened there. So, if there is just Dhamma without Shama, then the top gets blown. One day you are going to lose it. Very soon one is going to lose it because there's all these suppressed feelings. And the suppressed feelings here is in the form of dosha darshana. You're itching to tell something about somebody to them. Aha, I told you so. See, you're not perfect. See what you did. And you keep telling me, I do this, I never do this. Look at you. You do this 105 times more than I do. And it's so tempting to say this. And it is so wonderful to say it. So tempting and so wonderful to say it and get it off the chest. It's just a short-term happiness, really. A short-term satisfaction because you think that after hearing all this, the other person is going to keep quiet. Nah, not at all. Yeah, they already have their comeback planned even before you were able to say a few things. So better talk Vedanta. That's all it is. Better see Brahman in the situation, talk Vedanta, and at the same time process the feelings of insecurity, pain, sorrow centered on the self that is stopping you from, that is stopping you from talking about Vedanta, that is stopping you, keeping you in your tracks, always treading water and keeping on same old habit of finding fault. Because if you find fault, the mind is a very malleable thing. It goes by association. The mind goes by association and one thought builds upon another thought. And the mind, in order to cognize a thought, has to pervade that thought. And if you're constantly dwelling on other people's shortcomings, the mind is always pervading those other people's shortcomings. And in the process, as though you are coming out of a crowded temple where you have been completely sandwiched, you know, between two people who haven't taken a shower, then then you have to, then you come out and feel all icky, right? And then this is how the mind also feels, because you're carrying the burden of other people's shortcomings. So what to do? Anya vacha pramunchatha. Stop thinking about it, stop talking about it, and make a sankalpa at home, only Vedanta talk. Try it, try it for one day. See how it goes.
I mean, now everybody knows.
What?
The significant other is here.
Yes.
The secret when you start talking.
Yeah, but they also should talk the same thing. Yeah, it is for everyone. Yeah, everyone should talk the same thing. Everyone should talk the same thing. This is a nice way to grow together. Yeah, it's an open secret here. Open secret. So that is today's homework. Tomorrow you come and tell me how it worked out for you. Yeah. So, yeah. So, so not just with significant other, you can do that with your friends, with your children, with anybody you talk to. No. Yeah, anyone and everyone. So, then, durvastuna eva malini kriyate. Malini kriyate means makes it dirty. Why does it make it dirty? Because the antakarna was already shuddha. You had put so much effort. The person had put so much effort to reduce raga dveshas, to suspend and all these reactivity, to develop shraddha, samadhanam, all the six pack. What is the six pack? Yeah? Shama, Dama, we have already discussed. Uparati. Uparati is mini sannyasa. Whatever bothers you, let it go first. Take sannyasa from everything that bothers you. Uparati. Then titiksha. What is titiksha? Sahanam sarva dukkhana apratikara purvakam chinta vilaparahitam sa titiksha nigadyate. Put up with all the difficulties for the sake of this teaching, for the sake of this understanding. And so, what are the, sarva dukkhana, all difficulties. Sahanam, putting up. And then, yes, I put up with all the difficulties. And then what happened? I kept on talking about it. See how much I have given up for the sake of Vedanta. See, I'm not even I'm not even having fun, even if I go to restaurants. See how much I have given up. And now at home also, I'm not allowed to fight. I'm only talking Vedanta at home also. See what I have done. Yeah, don't do that. That is not titiksha. If you do that. Remember the stock example of Pujya Swamiji? I was so thirsty, I was so thirsty, I was so thirsty. He's keeping on lamenting after so many stations have gone by. One thirsty person, First he says, I'm so thirsty, I'm so thirsty. His wife got sick of him. And in the next station, when the train stopped, went and, filled up water. And he drank the water, ha, ha, ha. And she said, thank God, now he'll stop complaining. And for the next 20 minutes, he kept saying, you know how thirsty I was? I was so thirsty, I was so thirsty. That is the stock example for no titiksha. And here, I'm upgrading that example. See how much I've given up for Vedanta. Nothing the person has given up. But still the feeling is this, See how much I'm adjusting. See how difficult it is. And see how hard it is in Atlanta. You don't know the traffic. Still I'm going to this. And still I'm coming to every class. Still I'm going to Gita home study. Still I'm doing this. See, so this is what Vilapa. This is called Vilapa. Keeping on complaining so that somebody will validate. This is not Titiksha. Okay, I don't do Vilapa, but I get eaten up by all kinds of worries. Where is this Vedanta going? I seem to be getting into it more and more. How many people get moksha? You can't even count on one hand. How, after all, nobody is getting moksha. What if I don't, what if I fail in my job, in my marriage, in my parenting, and then also don't get moksha? OMG, this is called, this is called neither here nor there. What will happen to me? This is the anguish and inner anxiety that is too secretive to even express to another. This is called chinta. So no chinta allowed, no vilapa allowed, cheerfully putting up with difficulties, titiksha. Then what? Shraddha. शास्त्रस्य गुरुवाक्यस्य सत्यबुद्धि अवधारणा सा श्रद्धा कथिता सद्भिः यया अक्षरम अधिगम्यते. That, attitude through which the knowledge is gained, that attitude of reverence and devotion towards the words of the teacher and the words of the Shastra is called Shraddha. And then finally, Samadhana. Samadhanam means single pointed focus. When you are doing Shravanam, neither look here nor look there, unless the teacher says look there or look here. Otherwise, don't look here or look there. Single pointed. That's why we have what is called a Digbandhana. What is Digbandhana? That the kind of a sacred space. Yeah. You make a sacred space. In Hindi, Laghunyasa, Bhur, Bhuvaswaro. You go like this. Meaning, I have put a sacred halo around myself. I have, so nothing else come here. There is a sacred space. Meaning, this is easy to concentrate and focus. I'm not going to get distracted. So the Sahana Bhavatu mantra or any Shanti mantra becomes the Digbandhana. After that you're not supposed to move. After that you're not supposed to get up, go look out of the window to see who is coming. And then gloat, I came early, you're late, already Shanti mantra was chanted. No. You don't get up, you don't do anything, you just have to sit completely riveted until the Purna Madaha, the closing mantra is the release of that Digbandhana. This is called Samadhana. And so all this you have cultivated with such care. And then all this that you have cultivated with such care is as good as letting it all be washed away. It's as good as losing it all. Because one has this habit of deriding others. So the carefully cleaned out antahkarana, all the raga dveshas were settling down. You were successful in putting pacifiers in the mouth of all the raga dveshas. So they were settling down like cranky babies ready to go to sleep. They were all nicely settled down, swaddled, and not disturbing your shravana, not disturbing your pursuit. And then this one habit of keeping on finding faults with others makes all those babies wake up and cry for attention, erodes the titiksha, erodes the shraddha, erodes everything. Do you want to take this risk? No. So then he says, Tad anya dosha grahat. Anya dosha grahat means through the grasping and through the dwelling of on other people's doshas. What happens? Malinikaranam takes place because I'm constantly focused on other people's doshas. My mind which I have cleansed with such a lot of effort and so much, desire for this knowledge, it again becomes dirty. It's like a pig, you give the pig a bath, pet pig, okay? And then what does it do? Roll in the slime, rolls in the grime. This is what happens. So the mind you have given a bath. You have given it a bath by, chanting Vishnu Sahasranama, Lalita Sahasranama. You have chanted and you feel good. You have a practice. You have a spiritual practice. You do Sandhya, you do Gayatri Japa, you do all kinds of holy things. And then what happens? You also use the tongue for lashing other people or mentally lash out at people. And then all this is gone to waste. It's like jalahutihi. You know, it's like ahuti or bhasma ahuti. When you offer the ahuti, the fire should be there. But if you put the ahuti in water, it doesn't reach the devatas. And similarly, if it is, what is that? If it's all, what is that? Bhasma, ashes. In the ashes, if you put the ahuti, it should fully get consumed. It doesn't get consumed. It is wasted. And so, like this, don't waste. Oh, so you have come so far. The author says, you know, Sridhara Venkatesha says, Ayyawald says, you have come so far. Don't waste it. Don't blow it. In other words, protect this. This is what in the Ishavasya Upanishad also we have. What is that? Tena tyaktena bhunjithaha. Protect the self by giving up. What to give up? This is what to give up. This habit you give up. When you give up, then everything that you have done, all the preparation you have done, bears fruit and remains with you. And then he says, ahaha. Ahaha means aha, ayayo, alas. Yeah. Doshagrahat, ahaha. And then, kim na nivartitavyam. Oh Lord, why don't I overcome this habit? Why don't I come out of this habit? How come this habit is so stupidly addictive? So addictive. And if I don't talk about other people for 24 hours or don't think of other people's problems and all their shortcomings, it's like my food doesn't get digested properly. First day, second day, I start feeling sick, because the habit, it has become a habit. And so he says, oh Lord, ahaha, alas, why don't I overcome it? Why shouldn't this habit be overcome? And since it's in the form of a rhetorical question, it is showing how difficult it is to overcome. Yet one has to persevere. One has to, do that. निर्दोष भावमितरस्य सदोष भावम्
निर्दोष भावमितरस्य सदोषभावम्
स्वस्यापि संविदधति परदोषधीर्मे
स्वस्यापि संविदधति परदोषधीर्मे.
Something happened there. स्वस्यापि संविदधति परदोषधीर्मे
स्वस्यापि संविदधति परदोषधीर्मे.
आस्तामियं तदितरातु परार्तिमात्र
आसामियं तदितरातु परातिमात्र.
हेतुर्व्यनक्तु न कथं मम तुच्छभावम् हेतुर्व्यनक्तु न कथं मम तुच्छभावम्. Together. निर्दोषभावमितरस्य सदोषभावम् स्वस्यापि संविदधति परदोषधीर्मे आसामियं तदितरातु परातिमात्र हेतुर्व्यनक्तु न कथं मम तुच्छभावम्. So the alankara is in slowing down the last part. Okay, all this we say quickly, because according to the meter, then there is a nice alankara. This we will see tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Hari Om.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Hari Om.
Questions. Question number 1. How to talk Vedanta all the time?
can talk to somebody who knows, but
Even who doesn't know, yes. That's why in the Mundukopanishad it says, even the milkmaid that comes to deliver milk in the house of the Jnani gets enlightened. This is how. What does the milkmaid know? Nothing. Natasya kule abrahmavid bhavati. In the whole family, there is nobody that doesn't know. This is what it is. Yeah. So don't wait to meet a, what is that? Don't wait to meet a co-farer, a wayfarer on the way. It may happen, that may not happen. You live Vedanta, you talk Vedanta, you eat Vedanta in between the meals. Yeah, and then, there is no possibility of any conflict at all. Because when you are with Vedanta, you are in that oneness all the time. Haji.
We often come across college students who are inquisitive about Vedanta.
Sorry, say that again.
We often come across college students who are inquisitive about Vedanta.
College students.
Yeah.
College.
Yeah.
So at what level should we interact with them? Because should we include the karma model theory, or should we say that we are the witness? Because some questions they ask are better responded as at a different level, and some questions they ask are better responded at a different level.
Yes. So you already know. Yeah, of course. If a teenager is interested in Vedanta, either your own or somebody else's, and you start talking about what you learned today, there is this thing called Vritti Vyapti, and then it turns into Phala Vyapti, and this is how all the cognition takes place. And then first there is Tadakara Vritti, and then it becomes, Phala Vyapti, and then the cognition of the pot takes place. They will have already, gone away. They will run away from them. Or they'll be on their phone. Yeah. Obviously, that's not the level to engage. You have been studying for such a long time. I just, include all these things. But, but this much they can understand. You know what? If you keep dwelling on the negativity of others, you will start feeling negative pretty soon. And if you are feeling negative, perhaps it is a good thing to introspect and leave it to them to do that. That is Vedanta. Yeah. You are what you seek. Vedanta. You spot it, you got it. If you are having difficulty, the roots of those difficulty that you are having with anybody, is what? Is maybe some trigger is in you. Or just ask them, what is triggering you? That's Vedanta. So there are different ways,
Swamiji, how does Adhikara play into that? Because sometimes we've seen that Vedanta was passed along in incorrect circles, and then you have this whole phenomenon of Neo Vedanta and other
Yeah.
branches forward.
Yeah, you bless them. Because they will be dead. They were there even in the past. Adi Shankara was not the monarch of everything. He also had to contend. He had sparring partners, Bauddhas and these, Ekadeshis. These were all the different matas. Ekadeshis, Darshanas. Ekadeshis were there, Bauddhas were there, Kshanika Vijnanavadins, these, various Buddhists. These are all. And then there were Sankhya people, who said, there are, and then Naiyayikas, Vaisheshikas, who said, how come there's only one Ishvara? How come there can be many Ishvaras? All these things were there. And then, of course, our favorite, Charvaka, the hedonist, yeah, the dialectical materialist, the hedonist, Charvaka. Yeah, but Jivet Sukham Jivet, And, so then they also had sparring partners. And in fact, we take a cue from Adi Shankara's grand guru, who was Gauda Padacharya. Adi Shankara's guru was called Govinda Pada. This is Guru. Then Parama Guru. Guru's Guru was Gaudapadacharya, who wrote a wonderful commentary in verse called, Mandukya Karika. And the Karika is divided into 4 chapters. These are various prakarnas. So the first one just follows the Upanishads and comments on the Upanishad, and the other two, talk about the deeper things of, the Satyam, Mithya, etc. within Vedanta very, very deeply. And then finally, the last one is called Alaka Shanti Prakarana, a chapter talking about, the rahasya, the secret of the incense stick. So what is this? So here all the various contentions are examined with the help of this metaphor of an incense stick in the dark night. And so you take the incense stick, you can sign your own name with a flourish, Charvaka, and then you can draw 2, 3 things, Prakriti, Purusha, etc., Sankhya. Then you can, draw many Ishvaras and Nayayika, Vaisheshika, because they're all based on logic. And then you can draw all these things, Buddhas, Bauddhas, everything, all these Ekadeshis, Khanikavada, etc. You're drawing all of them and their beliefs. And then you stop. You have gone into that fully. You have forgotten that you are drawing this with an incense stick. You are completely into the contentious world of other people's, constantly facing other people. And then when you realize that this is just an incense stick, this is what is called Alata Shanti. The complete cessation of all, the place of complete cessation of all arguments. And what is that place of complete cessation of all arguments? It is right here. In the Nirvikalpa, Shuddha Buddha, Nitya Mukta Atma. In that Atma that is free of conflict, that's the only thing that there is. There is no dual thing, that's the only thing that there is. There is no place for any conflict. So then what do I do to all these people? There are all these matas there, Gaudapadacharya says that what? Let them be. Recognize them as points of view. A point of view is valid when you know the view. When you know the view, a point of view is very valid because it is in context. So in context, we can understand the Vaisheshika and Nayayika. We can understand the Sankhya. We can understand a Dvaitin, a Vishishtadvaitin, because there is some truth to that. Feeling helpless like a devotee, feeling I am a devotee and you are everything and I belong to you. There is some truth to that. However, you are what? You are beyond all these distinctions and all these conflictual, categories. You are the student of Atma, you are a student of Vedanta. You accommodate, you embrace all of them and transcend them also. So you can point out, okay, for the sake, if you're writing a book, you can disagree with them. You have to. You can disagree with them and say, this is what is not there. So frequently I will also tell all these modern neo-Vedantists, like you said, what is that, Eckhart Tolle, etc. Only Tvampada Vichara. Tatpada is not there is no Ishvara. Because that Ishvara has not understood. So somehow studying by yourself, with your own effort, you can come to some small understanding that you are the witness, you are not affected by this, but there is nothing on the other side. A big void where Ishvara should be. So forget Mahavakya oneness, because Ishvara itself is not there. There is no Tatpada Vichara. Tatpada is not there. Jagat Karanam Brahma is not there. Ishvara is not discussed. Without Ishvara, there is no Vedanta at all. So then you can say, because such people usually are very influential. They are many, they have a following, in lakhs and thousands and, millions of people follow them. So maybe Bhagavan is allowing this because some good they are doing. You bless them, and then if somebody is coming to you for advice, as it said in verse number 4, then you correct and you say, no, it is not like that. If you're really serious about this, I can talk to you. Yeah, that is what you can do. Because a point of view is not the view. But if you don't, if you have the view, then you can enjoy the point of view. But if you mistake the point of view for the view, then you are gone. And that's what a lot of these people do. They have a point of view and they mistake it for the view. But we are not fighting with anybody. If somebody says, I'm separate from God, okay. Yes, we can see how you can see that. It's a temporary reality because it's based on your emotional response of alienation. I'm a part of God. Okay, you're getting there. Shubhamastu. And if you're ready to see what I see, I can show you how you are not separate from that Bhagavan. I can accommodate you and I take you further as well. I can validate the person. That is what the whole thing is. Yeah. Did you have a question?
Can you just tell me a bit about how you process the feeling you mentioned about that?
Yeah, you have to have a safe exit strategy for the feeling. That's why it helps to write it out, shout it out. Of course, not at home or at somebody else. Somewhere in the open. You can scream it out, shout it out, write it out. Yeah, you need a outlet. Therapy is an outlet. Talking to people is an outlet. These are all various outlets. Yeah. Safe outlets without targeting or blaming yourself or without targeting a loved one or anyone. Yeah.
One other question I had was, how to keep your mind elevated? I mean, if you're living in a transaction world, we are so much caught up.
Yeah.
Keep that mind elevated on higher thoughts.
Anya vacha pramunchata. Talk only Vedanta. Then it's so elevated. Now then you'll need a lift to come down.
Do you ever engage in a practice of thinking positive, trying to find something positive about the people that you're dealing with?
Well, you could do that. That is called Pratipaksha Bhava. That is a practice that is a very ancient practice. But here, I kind of bypass that to take everybody to Vedanta completely. Because you see, the positive thinking, it's good. You can look at something, and that is what I mentioned yesterday. You have an only no criticism, only appreciation day. Within the household, within the family, and that's what is that's the whole point of the practice. But that doesn't, that when one is in the grip of something, very strong feelings, that often doesn't, positive thoughts don't come to mind immediately. And you ask the person in the grip of some painful feelings that the other person may have triggered, and you say, okay, say 3 good things about them, they will throw 3 things at you. Yeah. So it is very likely. So it's better to just, go to Vedanta, because if one knows this, to first to stop, Dhamma, process the feelings, Shama, and get to the place of making this none of your business. If somebody has problems, what is it to do with you? It's nothing to do with you. Look at your own problems. Why are you so interested in other people's problems? That is what is the gist of the next verse we are going to study tomorrow. Okay. Thank you. Any questions online? Let me see. No questions online. Okay. Oh.
Then tomorrow and day after we have 7:15 to 9. Day after